Hello, hello, hello. Oh, there it is. Apparently my usual scratch method into the microphone did not work. But are we live on Facebook, YouTube? Yes, awesome. Welcome, and thank you all for staying for a bit after church. It's fun, we can do this again now. Yes, we did that coffee, that's coming soon. Still being a little careful, but welcome. So we're really glad that you came and are wondering about and asking questions about what is this stuff we're talking about regarding Freestone. So glad you're here, and Beth Pollard, our board president, is going to greet as well, and then I'll tell you what's going on.
Thank you, Reverend Michelle. A huge welcome and thank you for being interested in Freestone and showing up today in person and online. I also have great thanks and appreciation to our Reverend Michelle, who came up with the process, the timeline, and the guidelines for the congregation as a whole to learn about, listen, and make a decision in 2022 about the future of our Freestone property. And I also want to extend a huge heap of gratitude to the members of the Freestone Committee. I understand they have been working very hard behind the scenes to gather information, pull it together, and make sure that their fellow congregants have what we need to make a wise decision about the future of this property. So thank you, Reverend Michelle, for leading us through.
Thank you, Beth. So this is the first of the, well, almost, I would say the second of the public steps in a larger timeline and process that we are just starting to talk about the future of the Freestone Retreat property. Now, some of you have a cover sheet on the packet that you got that starts with the topic, goals, process, and timeline, and some of you don't, I think. So I apologize if you don't. I will have that out somehow, but it only got stapled to half of the packets that went out because we get to have fabulous human moments that we share. Isn't it great? So, but briefly, it's the goals of engaging in this process are to achieve a result that is financially sustainable for the congregation and is mission-oriented, to provide opportunities for members of UUCB to be fully informed on the issues and express your views and feelings on them, to move towards healing the hurt that has been done in the past, to develop a proposal that is acceptable to as many members of UUCB as possible, and, last but certainly not least, to discuss the issues openly, transparently, flexibly, and in the spirit of UUCB's congregational covenant and UU values. Hence the sermon topic for today. Did y'all figure out yet why I was talking about it? Yes. All right, so so what's happened so far is that the Freestone Committee and the board weighed in and agreed on this process and timeline we're following. And then a number of folks, but mostly the members of the Freestone Committee have been working really hard on gathering some estimates and opinions and reports to have us all as up to date on things as possible. And the packet that you're holding is a summary report of those, and we're going to talk you through. I'll talk you through what's in that packet so that you can take that home and read it. And there's a link that went out at the in the announcement section of the week ahead, as well as in that will be going out in the week ahead and other news sources for a while that has. No, I've got to leave it up now because we're passing the mic around, so I need to leave the mic up. My mask on. Someone was asking me to pull the mask down. We're passing the mic around. So you'll have that information to take a look at. All of those reports and everything gathered we are sharing because we are seeking to get everyone on the same page and talk about these issues openly and transparently. So this is the first of 3 information sessions. We're not going to be problem solving for a while. This is the first of 3 information sessions to share with you what sorts of things have been gathered and about Freestone and how we got to today. And then we have a couple other the healing phase, I call it, a history wall timeline exercise, a dialogue day. We'll have small groups. We'll have some organized visits to Freestone this summer so that folks can get out and enjoy the property. And then in the fall, September and October, we'll be digging into some of creative brainstorming and alternative brainstorming and possibilities then. All right, so that's what the overall process is. Let's see, what is next? I would like to turn the mic over to the members of the Freestone Committee to share with you some fabulous pictures and things that isn't the Geodome cool? Come on now. To share with you a bit about Freestone with some pictures and such. So let's see who I'm going to hand it to.
Okay.
So go ahead and stand up in front of me.
Okay. And I'm going. Okay. So I'm going to hand the mic over to Bob at some point because I want him to talk a little bit about the history. So this is the dome. And it's been with the church since for 45 years plus. It was bought in 1971, and Freestone is the second retreat. The first one was in Inverness. Yeah, 71. I'm sorry? My name's Alan Davis. I'm a member of the Freestone Committee. And it's important to note that it was gifted to the church by a member, and then the church volunteers built it. Bob, could you comment on that?
Well, I'll wait till you're done, and then
Okay, so over a period of about 8 years, they laid the foundation and built a geodesic dome. And it's been essentially run independent of the church budget for over 40 years. And then in 2014, essentially, it came back into church management, and it was closed in 2016 because of needing substantial repairs. The problem it faces is that a volunteer workforce is not enough to maintain it. Next slide, please. What's really compelling about Freestone is it's a place of bucolic beauty, a place where there are 3 bedrooms where individuals and groups from the church can meet and have met over many years doing many spiritual, meditative, and other such things. Sure.
I just wanted to add to that, there were 3 bedrooms. And as we do in a retreat, in a vigil that I take care of, usually the older members like to use that. But as you can see on those benches there, we made those cushions. They fold out into a double bed sleeping arrangement on the floor for other people to use the very large open space in there for additional sleeping arrangements, either on the benches or taking the back of them and putting them on the floor. So it'll actually sleep quite a number of people.
Yes. It's not unusual for there to be 16 or 20 people there for a weekend. And I think part of what made this a unique part of the church was that many, many groups from every committee in the church visited there and spent the night there. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, so one of the things that's important to note is this is quite close to Berkeley. in Kensington, 70 minutes by car. And it's close to the Redwoods, it's close to Bodega Bay. It's a place where there are natural places of wonder surround it. And it's got an amazing view. So if you were to look at it as a vacation place alone and as an attractive place to be, it's quite compelling. And the construction on the road was recently finished, so it's actually takes much less time to get there than it did for the last 10 years. Next slide, please. I think one of the big issues here is for those who've experienced Freestone as part of their church lives, it really has been a place of extraordinary experiences. Many, many people have really enjoyed it over the years. And it would be a hole in our lives, at least for me, if it went away. Next slide, please. I mean, it's a place not only for organized religious experience, but for Thanksgivings, for weddings, for many such things. Next slide, please. And there's been a long-standing tradition of a picnic there every year. And there's a picnic for the RE committee, there's a picnic for this group and that group, and it really is a place where people have gone and enjoyed themselves. Next slide. It's also a place where you can experience nature in a way that you wouldn't otherwise have an opportunity to do so. And it's not a place where the experience of it is going to be duplicated, or for that matter, be available easily for all of us elsewhere. Next slide, please. Unfortunately, it's also a place that's at a critical juncture. It's a place that needs substantial repairs, but for that matter, there are no buildings that are over 50 years old that don't need substantial repairs at some point. And there are no buildings that do not need maintenance. The question is, can the church continue to afford it? And we think with good financial planning, with better management of the projections, the budget, and the rentals, it certainly can. If you think of it this way, there are 1,900 rental properties in that area, and most all of them are full most all the time. It's a question of how we manage it and what choices we make. But the economics do pencil out if it's managed well. Next slide. So just so people understand what we're talking about, there are 3 lots at Freestone. There are 2 lots which are about 7.5 acres total, and then there's the dome area, which is about 11 acres. And it is originally, the intent was when they bought the 4 lots, they were going to sell 3 of them. We sold 1 of them, and there are 2 that we would like to sell. If we sell those, we potentially would be able to pay for all the repairs that are upcoming. Next slide, please. Thank you very much. I hope I'm going to give the...
I'm always reluctant to take a mic because I'm a person that doesn't know how to stop talking. But I will, thank you. Oh, yeah, that's better. Any event, just sort of filling in some of the history that wasn't mentioned just previously. The Inverness retreat was sold after it was determined it was too far away for the church members to really make use of. And there was a very, very large question, the same question we are presented with now, in the mid-70s, that produced this history here, which didn't go out in the packet. In this, the question of financing, management, etc., was addressed, and the projections of the committee at that time pretty much were all realized. The first lot was sold to David Ulrich, and that produced $25,000 which finished the funding necessary to build the dome. Currently, the dome issues include access, and that is something that we have been studying for many years. We have lots of ideas on it, but we think that that's going to be the key to a successful going forward. And with that, I'm going to give up the mic, and the committee will take questions.
Well, there's a couple more parts first. Okay, so, oh, we got more pictures. Let's go through and look at the rest of the pictures. That's awesome. No, let's look at them because it's distracting to have both different pictures and a totally different topic. So go ahead, Michael. All right, let's enjoy some pictures. Are there any more photos? Okay. Thank you, Michael. And Don Close is going to share some more on the history with us. And then after that, I'll talk about why on earth we're talking about this now, in case you're wondering.
Hi, I'm Don Close, a member of the committee. I just wanted to say a few words about what I call the deep history of Freestone Retreat, where it came from, how it came into be, how it came to be. On the wall of the Freestone, there is a plaque. You can't see it very well here, but it lists a number of names of the people who were involved in giving money and to the various phases of construction, and that list contains 67 church members' names. And then there's a separate list of 62 names who pitched in and donated their labor to building the retreat over a number of years in different phases. that list includes many people who were prominent church members and pillars of the church. In those days, the church, the Freestone Committee was not a small group the way it is now, but it was large and it was central to the life of the church. And I think it's important to understand that history. Most of the names, most of the people named here are gone, no longer among the living. But there are some names that are still with us. Bob Moore, Ann Greenwood, Joe Maxson, Joe Jackson, Grace Ulp, David Lingenfelter, Nan Yarborough, among others. So I guess I wanted to emphasize the fact that the Freestone retreat is the result of a ongoing effort of many, many church members. It was a tremendous community building effort, and as you saw in the construction, it involved a lot of teamwork and camaraderie and fellowship. So that's some of the initial elan, the vitality of the retreat. And it sort of represents what kind of opportunity it presented in those days and what it might, the opportunities it might present into the future. So that's an important part of the picture we need to work with. So I think I'll leave it at that.
All right, so what has happened in the past, year to get us to where we are right at the moment? So this is like the very recent history update now. So by the way, we have a fabulous executive director here, Tess, right? So yes, oh my goodness, fabulous. And she is not here at the moment, so at the other Q&A sessions, hopefully we'll be able to go more deeply into some of what she's worked with, but she's spring breaking and was out of town for the weekend. So she is not here right at the moment, so I'm trying to represent her, which is difficult because she's fabulous. But anyways, one of the things that she was tasked with was working to create different income possibilities for the church. And so she had begun to establish and develop a relationship with Trackers, which is a nature-based children and youth day and overnight camp and after-school program. And one of their contact people heard about our property, the Freestone property, and said, oh my goodness, I want to see this. And so they made plans to rent that property during the weeks for most of the summer, to be doing day camps and some overnight camps there, and that was this past summer. So they started having the camps out there, which increased the traffic a lot on the road for daily traffic for parents dropping their kids off. And one of the neighbors called up the county and said, hey, I'm not sure that they have the permit for that. So, and in fact, we did not. And we discovered through that process that the property has been zoned as residential all along. And so, and now the neighbors and the county are looking and have noticed this and realized this. So so this process is what has raised the question for the consideration of UUCB. So it is a combination of a number of things. It's a combination of some repairs and work needed on the property to the road, and a question about permitting and what uses are possible and available to us, both for the church community as well as for income-producing possibilities. So that is essentially how we are here today. And a lot of folks have been working both with the county ombudsman, as well as I've consulted with both the local real estate agent to say, hey, what is the lay of the land right now? A really good opinion letter from a local real estate attorney, and a wildlife expert as well to look at endangered wildlife that is on the property. And many of these things have been collected, and they're all being made available to our UUCB community. Because one of the priorities is, hey, let's all get on the same page, have the same information that we're looking at, and both through a process that we get to talk about, what each of us, our own memories and histories with Freestone, as well as then digging into, okay, what are the facts? What are the possibilities? What are alternatives? So that's kind of how we're here. So I want to walk you through the packet that's in your hands. The author of it, the main author of it, Dave Wemmer, could not be here today. So we're going to hold off on a more in-depth presentation until he can make that presentation. But I do want to walk you through so that you can better understand what it is you're holding, what are the other pieces that you can find online, and just start delving into these reports and this information. Does that all make sense? Are there any questions before I get started on that? All right. Okay, we haven't fully confused you yet. Excellent. Y'all are fabulous. So this is both an executive summary and then it's about a 10-page report with some summaries of a whole bunch of different things. And then the appendices, over a dozen appendices, have a lot of the work and details on all of that. And this report was put together by the Freestone Committee with Tess and I supporting them as well to help aid us in this process and to try to present kind of an entire picture for Freestone right now. So it starts with, you know what? I'm going to run and get a music stand so I can put my papers on it. I will be right back. I believe I know where one is. In the music room. Haha. What's nice about this is you can adjust the height so that short people like me can see it well as tall people. There we are, thank you. All right, so what you're holding is first executive summary, so a bit about the history and mission. And to see more about the history and mission, there are 2 write-ups of the history of Freestone that are included as appendices in the digital materials. And then goes through a number of things, which you see starting on page 3 in the full report. And the allowed future property uses might be the most complex thing here in all of the materials. And for there, I would point you to the report by local Sonoma County real estate attorney Tina Wallace, who did a really good examination of that, both what happened this summer, the different pieces we're working with the county on, and then some of the different interpretation of the permits and allowed uses based on her, I think, 25 years of practicing real estate law in the area. And then the cost estimates for rehab and retrofitting. The Freestone Committee, the members of the committee are fabulous, by the way. They've been working hard to work on, getting estimates for all of these different things that the dome needs. And this is presented in Section B with some different stages, both for the building as well as the driveway, as well as longer-term improvement. And these are all separate from numbers that I don't have in an official document yet for you, but hopefully we'll have that added into the packet, are some of the estimates on some of the different possibilities for going forward with different permitting possibilities in order to change or address what we're allowed to use the property for. Then C presents potential funding sources. A presentation of that. Keep on going, flip the page over, and which goes through page 6, 7, and 8. Then on 8, projected annual operating costs, which does not include any of the rehab and retrofitting. Then E, also starting on page 8, potential revenue models, which are highly keyed to what we're allowed to use the property for. And then F is relates to the conversations with the realtor about possible sale of the properties and what that would bring. So there are A through K, and there will be a few more of appendices, which includes the, you don't have those in your hands, those are the ones that are digital right now. the Sonoma County Code of Ordinances, then the line item estimates for the repairs, if you're the kind of person who really wants to dig into, okay, what exactly are we talking about? So we've got the work shown there. Then the wildlife habitat assessment. There are, let's see, wild rats there that the endangered spotted owls feed on. And then there's some frogs or something, am I right? Red-legged frogs. Because there's a stream going through the property, so there's some cool animals there, and there's a long, assessment with pictures and everything from a wildlife expert. Then some more exploded out details on the projected annual operating budget, projected annual revenue models. Then from a pair of realtors in Sonoma County, their summary, their comps. That parcel map with the picture up there, it's included in the packet as well, and the regional map. And then the one that I am still digging into because of how detailed it is the formal opinion letter from Tina Wallace. And that's a good thing to dig into. Then to show some of everything that she referred to in her opinion, we included all of those pieces too, because let's know what we're all looking at. So the letters on the permitting and use from 2004, our certificate of occupancy, if you're curious to see that, and then some of the email exchanges between the ombudsman in Sonoma County that have happened since this past summer. And then again, the history documents to 2005 and since 2008. So those are all right now shared with you. And the one piece that is still remaining to have to be written up, because just don't have it fully together yet, are the different possibilities for applying for different permits. And what are some of the different intricacies and complexities there? Because it's not a straightforward question. But whether it's a special use permit or a full change I think it's the special use permit is the one that made the most sense to look at. So what might that entail? So working on getting those written up as well. So that is both what you're holding and what you have access to. And probably, we decided, especially given the author of this report, David Wemmer, is not here today. We're not going to really dig into a more detailed presentation of the report, but wanted to at least take some general questions and get these materials into your hands so that we can all start taking a look at this. So let me open it up for general questions right now, and between me and folks on the committee and the I don't know type answer that is also a possibility, we'll see what we can do to answer those. And I will add, and if I could get someone to, let's see, tech savvy. Hey, Beth, can you hop onto our YouTube page and take a look at the comments? And if any question comes up on our YouTube page? So if you are watching this online and you have a general question about this, if you could please pop it in the comments. The Facebook comments forward over to YouTube. And if you're on YouTube, go ahead and pop them in the comments section there. And the amazing Beth Pollard, our congregational president, our board president, is taking a look at that so that we can share your question from there and be able to include you as well. So, okay, general questions. And I will try to run the mic around. Excellent. We're going to go all the way to the back first. And please hold the mic close when you're speaking into it like an ice cream cone. And be sure to use a mic so we can include everyone in being able to hear.
Can you hear me? This special use permit, would that allow this trackers group to use it again? Or would this need to be rezoned and need to be taken up with the supervisors or city council?
So I'm not sure the exact answer because there's the rezoning and the special use permit, and Tess has been the one who has been into the most details on that. So I will write down that question and make sure that we can get it answered and include it in what's going out. I don't think it relates to hers, but you can, yeah. Yeah, and what Nori was sharing is that it's some of the increased traffic was because of COVID requiring trackers to not be able to use their vans to transport the kids there, that they had to be individually transported there. So that might have shifted what was going on a bit. Yeah, sure. It takes a minute to click on.
Just to respond to the question on zoning, I think ambiguity on the issue, so I'm not going to provide a detailed answer at all. I'm just going to say that on one side, as a private residence, we can use it for gatherings. On the other side, it is unlikely that we are going to get a special use permit or change our zoning per se. But beyond that, I'm going to leave it, I'm going to defer to the legal opinions as they're developed.
Is this on? There we go.
The question for use is a huge question. Oh wow. Anyway, the question of renting it out to an organization for regular use as a day camp is a huge question involving a multitude of issues that affect not only the fire department, but the Board of Health and a number of other agencies. And that's not something that the committee is committed to looking into. However, we are waiting for a response from council on the question of, as was mentioned, the property is zoned for residential use. Residential use would normally include gatherings for picnics, weddings, family gatherings, and things such as that. Those are the types of things the committee has been using Freestone for lo these many days. I've been on the committee since 1982, and the things that we have done within that context have been numerous, including board retreats for getting together and discussing issues, and of course the weddings and things like that, and the annual picnic. Those things we hope our council will advise us can continue, and those are some of the things the committee feels are of surpassing importance to UUCB.
Thank you, but I will add that under the residential use permitting, which is what we have, there's still outstanding questions, and that's what is still being investigated in both opined? Is that the word? I got a word. Okay, I don't know if I've ever said that one out loud, about regarding overnight use as well as income producing use. So these are still some outstanding questions that are being grappled with. All right, other questions? Okay, Sandy, one more. Sandy, then Randy. Randall. Oh my goodness, okay. Sunday brain, sorry.
Am I on? It seems to me that a priority should be getting that road fixed first. I know I wouldn't want to come back up there again with the road the way it was last time. So that's just my thought.
Yeah, that possibility is discussed and the numbers are discussed in the report that you've got. Yeah, it's in there. Randall.
Yeah, just, okay, wondering about the URL or the Dropbox where the documents exist, because they're not in here.
There's a link in the week ahead, and hopefully there'll be a link in a nice prominent place on the website. It only has the timeline. Oh, there is a folder with all of this stuff, and I will get it up and available. I will have it gotten up and available ASAP. But there was a link, and at the very latest, it'll go out to the discuss list before the Tuesday. Why do I keep saying that? The Tuesday information session. But yes, that link and all of those documents will be getting out ASAP. Thank you for pointing that out for me. Appreciate that. Other questions? Yes.
Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. Well, first, thank you so much to the Freestone Committee. Boy, it's clear how much work you've all done. And this, you may have already, maybe we can't answer this yet. This has to do with the permit. So do we know yet if we would be allowed to rent it out, like through Airbnb? Do we know yet?
It's an excellent question, and there's both information in the report summary as well as a lot in Tina Wallace's letter, opinion letter. So yes, that is one of the specific questions that's been grappled with and what would be required for, and because it's complicated, of course it is. But yes, you'll find it in the packet. Alan knows the answer. Excellent.
So, in order to rent in Sonoma County through Airbnb, we would have to go through a certification process at the county level, which would require us having a manager living within 30 minutes of the dome, and it would require us to pay 12% above our rental fee to the county. Traditionally, anyone who rents property should be paying taxes when they generate income from the property. So that's something that we will be doing in the future. In terms of the management issue, I think we can address that, and I think it's quite possible that we could rent the dome through Airbnb and VRBO. And I think in the report there's substantial details on a hybrid approach, which would rent rooms at a much lower rate to members of the congregation and the entire dome to Airbnb and VRBO. And this approach would produce a significantly higher amount of revenue for the church. And I think this would solve fundamentally the issue of the future economics in terms of maintenance and refurbishment. But until we get there, we still have to pay for the maintenance and the refurbishment that needs to be done now.
Thank you. Chalice and then Nori.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. The folder in question is, if you go on our website, news, the week ahead, it's all the way down under announcements. There you'll find the folder that has the documents that Reverend Michelle is talking about. I'll make sure that it's placed prominently within the Freestone section of our website as well. But for now, that's where you can find it. It'll be up tomorrow.
Thanks.
Sorry, it's currently up now through the week ahead on the Freestone page tomorrow.
Thank you, Chalice, and thanks for y'all's patience as we are trying to get all these pieces to you. Nori.
I just wanted to point out, as a personal Airbnb renter, that Airbnb is very nice and makes it somewhat often painless to pay these taxes, as they will collect them from the person who is your renter and add them on to the cost of staying there, and then they will pay the majority of the tax directly to whoever requests it.
All right, any other general questions right now? Michael, let me come on over your way. And Michael, thank you so much for your work and getting the slideshow together and bringing that to us today.
You all know this from memory, but I want to read the mission statement. And I think just one of the big questions to separate is, what are the opportunities we've had and the activities we've had in the past, and then look at future opportunities, and just first evaluate how those opportunities at Freestone meet or do not meet our mission statement. And I think that's a big question for us. Right. And So the mission statement of creating loving community, inspiring spiritual growth, etc. But, and how many of you been to Freestone? Okay, a good majority. But I would suggest for, as a congregation devoting on this, let's encourage people not to take a stand one way or the other, but at least as a congregation we will vote. And it would be good to take an opportunity that our committee will provide to go visit the place in the next 6 months, to have a hands-on evaluation of the property, state of the building, et cetera, and just envisioning how this fits into our mission statement. Thank you.
And just in connection with that, and in terms of the road, I want to say that the drought has some positive effects, which is the rain has not created, canyons in the middle of the road, but yet it has provided enough rain for our road to sort of get overgrown with grass and fill in those rivets. So it may be easier this time to get to Freestone than in the past.
Any other general questions right now? All right. Well, and Alan or anyone from the committee want to say anything before we're done? Oh, one more question. No, I'm seeing Bob back here.
Yeah, I was first at Freestone when I was still part of the Oakland Church, and we used to hold our coming of age events there. So both of my children experienced Freestone back in the, early 90s or somewhere along the way there. So I've been familiar with it from back then. It seems to me that there's the question, that what Dave Wemmer's put together here is really, really good. But it seems like it, and it addresses the specific questions about the property itself. What is not addressed at all in here is what is the relationship of the church to this property, and having it be part of the church in the future with the projections of a more sustained use of the property than has been the case for a long time, even before the Men's Fellowship was stopped from using it regularly, yearly, I guess you'd say. And that question seems to me also has to be addressed, and I don't think this can be addressed separate from that. So I'm feeling like this is half a loaf here.
Thank you, Bob. I would almost say this is like a slice of the loaf. So we've got a lot more of the loaf that we'll be working on. All right. Bob?
Very briefly responding to that concern, not included in the materials that have been passed out is a flyer as to why we need Freestone, which I think addresses the issue of the retreat to the church, and that's available, and I'll make copies for anyone that would like one. I'll make copies of this for anyone that would like one.
All right. So lots of reading material, lots of homework, lots of thinking, and lots of, great things we can talk about with one another, right? All right, so the link will be, so the folder will be out on the Freestone page tomorrow. It will be, cool. And will be out on the discuss list as well. Tuesday evening on Zoom, we'll have an information gathering with a lot of this similar information then, as well as after the service on April 24th. And I think with that, any last words before we break? Nori has one. Okay, postlude pictures followed by a gorgeous day in the hills of Berkeley and the San Francisco Bay Area for everyone to enjoy.
I just wanted to offer to anybody who wants to go up there and who needs some help or a ride or things like that, that I would be happy to accompany people or help assist them in getting up there and having a wonderful time while they're there.
Thanks, Nori. And y'all have a fabulous rest of your week. Thank you so much for coming, and I will see you in church. I love getting to say that. And remember, a picture's going on.
We'll build a land where we bind up all broken. We'll build a land where the captives go free, where the oil of gladness dissolves all mourning. Oh, we'll build a promised land that can be. Come in the land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. We'll build the land where we bring the good tidings to all the afflicted and all those who mourn, and we'll give them gardens instead of ashes. Oh, we'll build a land where peace is born. Come build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. We'll build a land building up ancient cities, raising up devastations from old, restoring ruins of generations. Oh, we'll build a land of people so bold. Come build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. Come build a land where the mantles of praises resound from spirits once faint and once weak, where the oaks of righteousness stand her peak.